Tourism is one of the key economic engines that keeps Hawaii's economy afloat. But it's had its challenges in 2009 and 2010. Today, here to talk to us about tourism in Hawaii are three top experts. And this is News Behind the News. Welcome to our show. Thank you for joining us today. This is Jerry Gibson, Marsha Wienert, and Dave Carey from various parts of the industry. And Jerry, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and who you're representing today?
Sure. I'm with Hilton Hawaii. I'm the area vice president. We have 4 properties in Hawaii. We have the Hilton Waikoloa, the Grand Wailea on Maui, the Doubletree, and the very large Hilton Hawaiian Village here on Oahu.
So you're a good person to know. You want a great vacation, right? Marsha?
I'm Marsha Wienert. I am the tourism liaison for the state of Hawaii. Prior to assuming and being appointed to this position, I was the Maui Visitors Bureau executive director for 10 years. Been in the industry for longer than I want to admit.
But you're only 10 years old, so you've been there all 10 years, right? David?
I'm the president and chief executive officer of the Outrigger Enterprises Group. We are a full-service management company. We're actually the largest operator by number of rooms in the state of Hawaii. We operate hotels, condominiums, and we provide timeshare operation services as well. And we're also operating throughout the Pacific, a number of the Pacific Islands, and most recently in Southeast Asia.
Great. Well, we've heard a lot about the challenges in the newspaper. Headlines have been tourism is down or room occupancy is down. Marsha, why don't you give us an overall picture of tourism in Hawaii now?
Well, tourism has had a rough couple of years. We peaked in our visitor spending and visitor arrivals in 2007. And then we all know what happened in 2008. We had a fairly good first quarter in 2008. And then we had ATA and Aloha Airlines both discontinue service to the islands, which left a huge hole. Following that, we had, of course, the economic crisis that began in 2008 and continued through 2009. Year to date, basically, where we were at the end of 2008 is we lost just about 1 million visitor arrivals and $1.4 billion in visitor spending. And that trend continued in 2009 with the economic challenges as well as H1N1, the flu epidemic that went rampant around the world. Over the last 2 years, we have lost about $2.8 billion in visitor spending that's really circulated through our economy.
And what is that out of? How does that, in terms of like $2.8 billion out of how much?
Out of, at the peak, 12.8. Mm-hmm. So we're down right now to just a little shy of $10 billion in visitor spending. And that really kind of sets the stage in regards to what our state and our businesses are facing today.
That was a very bad walk down memory lane.
It was, I agree.
It made my heart sink. Dave, why don't you tell us about the overall, picture from your perspective and maybe some of the agencies involved?
Sure. Let's. I mean, obviously things have turned down, but let's reflect back on, I think, how we got there. When I've been doing this for quite a long time, and in the middle of the 90s, it sort of felt like this. It was pretty tough. Mm-hmm. And then at that time, the legislative and community leaders, we all banded together and said, hey, we need to do something about this. We need to organize and focus our marketing efforts, and so the Hawaii Tourism Authority was born. And then we sat around and tried to figure out what is the best strategy for tourism for Hawaii, and how do we do that? And we began to focus on visitor spending, because at the end of the day, it's visitor spending that goes into our economy. And we began marketing Hawaii on a more aggressive basis, and it began to work, and we began to see our industry rise. And then, the residents began to say, maybe tourism is kind of as big as it should be. And so we said, all right, well, if we're not going to build any more hotels, what if we just figure out how to get maybe a little more money out of the customers that are going to come here, a little higher spending, a little better retail. And we were wildly successful through 2007 doing that in a concentration of marketing. And the reason I say that is what's happened now with the drop in the economy is it's basically pulled the bottom out of that whole notion. We had begun to see a growth in what hotel and condo operators like an average rate, meaning what everybody pays every day. And now suddenly we're in a competitive environment where really the only incentive that we can do sometimes to get people here is to lower the price. And it's really tough. And when we lower the price and yet keep the same flow of business here, the revenue goes through the floor.
And just for people to think you're some rich hotel owner, and what does it mean when the revenue goes through the floor? What does that mean for jobs?
Well, that's an interesting question, because most of the hotel operators in the state have made the decision to try and do everything we possibly can to generate occupancy, because the occupancy keeps employees working in the building, it keeps people going to restaurants, and it keeps guests going to shops and stores and generally walking around. The consequence is when you fill up a hotel and you have the same occupancy, the expenses are the same. And unfortunately, our expenses over that period haven't gone down. So when you have same expenses, same occupancy, and you lower the revenue, the bottom line gets crushed. And so it actually dries up all the funds that you might have to do anything extra. So any ancillary service that you might have, any future reinvestment you might have, are all in trouble. Now, having said that, some of the neighbor islands haven't fared as well as Oahu. Oahu's managed to keep its head up. But on Maui and Big Island, and to a certain extent Kauai, they've seen big drops. And when you drop occupancy, it's very difficult to rationalize keeping people employed, and that's a big problem. The number one thing that the state is feeling right now, when that average rate goes down, so does the tax revenue.
Right.
And the tax revenues drops as significantly as our revenues do.
And of course that impacts everybody.
That's
That's,
right.
So that's
what we
what
see at the legislature right now with
Yes,
the challenges. Okay, how about you? I don't want to leave you out. Don't want you taking a nap while we're talking.
Not at all, not at all.
What about the neighbor islands?
As Marcia was saying,
Yeah.
it's been a rough road. The neighbor islands have really felt a big brunt of this too. You take Kauai for example. They really only have 3 major hotels, 3 to 4 major hotels, and what's helped them a bit has been the timeshare, because that's bought. People are coming, and even if you don't come, you're going to sell the points or whatever. So you have that fixture. Maui's been hurt quite a bit, by, first of all, the incentive travel has either canceled or dried up, and that's been very difficult for them. Likewise, the Big Island. So it's been a real rough road, as David was saying. There really hasn't been the flow through, because we're all looking at the same universe, and that's the transient business.
Right.